Now, a lot of what Michael Pachter had to say was pretty pro Microsoft. He seemed to think that this will be beneficial to consumers, and in the long run, it's going to have a positive impact in the industry. But there were some phrasings in how he laid things out about how this shakeup is really, really going to stir the pot, basically, with the status quo and how things work today. Some people might get left in the dust, and he sort of laid out what I've been saying I think we're at as an industry. I think we are at sort of a point where things are going to get shaken up a lot, and then the dust will settle and the remaining players will be left. Now, sure, I do think the Activision deal is going to go through, but regardless of that, Game Pass really sort of changes things in that it offers a new way to get access to games. And, PlayStation is PlayStation Now. And I don't think that sort of service is going away. Let's hear from Pachter, and here's what he had to say about the whole thing.
Netflix has single-handedly screwed up the film industry. And what Netflix did was they lowered the cost of consumption of video content from a cable TV subscription for $85 and an occasional movie ticket or VOD or something. So maybe you spend, call it $1,000 a year to consume content. They dropped the price to what's now $15 a month. So if you just want to watch a lot of TV and you're not all that particular about which programs you watch, Netflix is a phenomenal value. But realistically, if you were paying $85 and consuming 30, 40, 50 hours a month of content, and now you're paying 15, somebody lost $70. That really happened. And I'm not saying times every consumer, but times several million people aren't subscribing to cable anymore. And if the $70 evaporated from the system, there's less money around available to support creation of content. What you saw, which was stupid, was Peacock and Disney Plus and Paramount Plus and HBO Max kind of rushing in to fill the void. And so what we saw was that the number of scripted shows went from about 150 in the US in 2007 to almost 500 in 2022. And what we're seeing in 2023 is everybody's cutting back, including Netflix, because the market just can't support all that content. There's just not enough hours in the day and not enough subscribers. And you're hearing now Disney Plus is losing money, Paramount's losing money, Peacock's losing money, HBO's not. Netflix isn't either. So what ended up happening is Netflix kind of single-handedly ruined the industry. Now, great for consumers. So I am not knocking that at all. And I could say the same thing back in the 1950s. McDonald's screwed up the restaurant industry by offering low-cost food. Back in the 50s, a burger was 15 cents. So, you weren't going to go to a Denny's and spend $2 for a burger when you get it for 15 cents at McDonald's. Low-cost food, screwed up the restaurant industry. Netflix has screwed up the film industry, but in a good way for the consumer, because we get a lot more stuff for a lot less. So Microsoft's going to screw up the games industry by putting the last few guys who haven't figured out how to adapt out of business. I don't think Ubisoft is actually going out of business, but they better figure out free to play and mobile and the stuff that keeps everybody alive. And so, yeah, I mean, look, back when you were a kid, THQ, Acclaim, 3DO, remember those companies?
Yeah.
Midway? Yeah, they're all gone now because the economics of the industry have gotten to be so bad, and Microsoft's going to make them worse. But good for Microsoft and great for consumers. And ultimately, I think that much like Netflix and Disney, there'll be one or two great streaming services. There might be one that kind of stands out because they're like HBO. They don't have very much content, but it's great. And I think consumers will play a lot more games for less money.
Hey, if you've watched this far, thank you so much. Please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell. Now, back to the video.
And the model's really the cell phone model, where, when I first got a cell phone in 1991, I paid $130 a month for 30 minutes of talk time.
Yeah.
And I paid extra for voicemail. and roaming and long distance. It was crazy. And now I pay 35 a month and I have unlimited everything. Crazy, right?
It's great.
So how did that work? Because the cell phone industry went from me and a million other people with a cell phone in 1991 to 3.5 billion people with a cell phone now. So 3.5 billion times 35 a month, they're still making plenty of money.
Mhm.
That's what I think Microsoft's going to do to the industry. So I actually think you're going to go from 250 million-ish console gamers and maybe another 250 or 300 million PC gamers who actually buy content to something like 2 or 3 billion people who access games either through phones or streaming or something and spend money somehow, whether they watch ads or they pay a subscription. So there will be more money in the ecosystem. It's just going to be earned by different people, and it's going to be earned by the guys who adapt to the new model. So yes, I think they're screwing it up for everybody, but I think it's really good for consumers. And like I said, we have fewer game choices on console now because of Midway being gone and THQ being gone. Yes, you can still play Saints Row. Embracer makes it. Yes, you can still play Mortal Kombat. Warner Brothers bought that brand, but there's a lot of brands that are just gone. Turok, whatever happened to Turok? Remember that? I mean, there's
Soul
a lot
Reaver.
of good old Army Men from 3DO. Like there are these brands that are just gone forever, may never be resurrected. Not that they were great, but there were just a lot. THQ had Red Faction. I like that game.
Yeah.
There were like good games, and even games from existing publishers like Max Payne. Where the hell is that?
Mhm.
Or Midnight Club. Where the hell is that? And it's because the economics of making a 5 or 6 million unit seller aren't good anymore. Now you need 20 million. So the industry's just gone that way, and I think Game Pass is going to let us bring those types of titles back. So I think for consumers, Game Pass is a great move. For publishers, not as good, and for selection, not quite as good.
If you like this interview and you're one of the 50% of people who are not subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell so that you do not miss any time that I post. Now, back to the interview. So on the Sony side of things, do you think they're actually telling the truth that this deal going through is going to have a negative impact on their ability to make their first party games like God of War Ragnarok?
This deal is going to hurt Sony badly. That doesn't hurt consumers at all. So yes, what Microsoft is proving out is $15 a month for content is a better deal than $500 up front, $70 for the content, and $5 a month for multiplayer. And so Sony can either adapt or get run over. What's going to happen with that Game Pass is I think that the console guys like Sony will continue to be ridiculously stupid and will continue to hand advantages to Microsoft and allow them to grow. I admire Microsoft because they see this happening and they're exploiting it. And remember, at the end of the day, Microsoft doesn't care about profit per game per consumer. They care about taking Game Pass from 25 million subscribers to 225 million. If they add 200 million subscribers, they're making an extra, I can't even do the math anymore, 300 million a month. Is that right? No, 3.5 billion a month, 3 billion a month. Yeah, 200 million incremental times $15. They're going to make 3 billion a month. Guess what? That funds a lot of content. They're going to be fine. So Sony is absolutely going to get their ass kicked, and it's not bad for consumers.
A huge thank you to Michael Pachter for joining and talking a little bit about the Activision Blizzard case. If you like my content and you're one of the 50% of people who aren't subscribed, please consider hitting that subscribe button, hitting that bell to know when my content goes live. And if you would like to become a member, you can get early access to the full interview like the one we just saw right as soon as it's done. Basically click that join button to do that. And thank you so much to all of the members. If you would like to check out the Foss Patents interview, you can do so right here. I'm going to get out of here and I'll see you for the next one. Bye for now, everybody.